Welcome to the Yachting in Scandinavia webinar hosted by us, the PYA, Professional Yachting Association. I'm Kim Llorente, Sea Service Manager here. And the PYA is a non-profit organization. Probably most of you know us already because you're here. But we've been helping crew for over 30 years, and we play an active role with key stakeholders in the yachting industry. And we have members from all over the globe, but we are based in Antibes, in France. We support our members with advice for their career, for issues that they may have on board or in the industry in general. And we also organize networking events here and in other yacht hubs. And we hope that you will enjoy this webinar. We are running a promotion at the moment because of our brand new website that if you haven't visited yet, you can visit, you must visit as soon as possible. And there is a special membership discount, 20% discount, and we will share the code in the chat. We have decided to run a series of webinars on alternative destinations, and we're starting with Scandinavia. And as we know that the most traditional yacht hubs are busier and busier, and a lot of owners and guests are looking for a different experience. And so we hope that we will be able to give you some concrete advice and inspire you to organize a trip in this area. I will open a poll now, and I'll hand over the introduction to my guests. Melanie?
Hi everyone, my name is Melanie and I'm the Regional Manager for BWA Yachting Scandinavia. And I have the best job in the entire world, I would say. And I've been with BWA for about a year. And for those of you who doesn't know BWA, we are a yachting agency with a global presence.
Thank you, Melanie. And now I'll pass it over to Andrew.
Hello, everybody. I'm Managing Director of Berkley Rand. Berkley Rand is a BWA yachting company. We're based here in London, in Mayfair, but we operate all around the world. And essentially, we work on the experiential creations and activations and adventures and expeditions on behalf of owners and charter clients of super yachts, covering all parts of the globe, creating anything from nightclubs to fashion shows to underwater explorations, augmented reality, immersive technologies, stagecraft and lasers, light beams and UFOs. Depends on what your passion is in terms of that. And obviously it's quite varied and quite unique for many of our clients that we're renowned for. And hopefully today we can give you our flavour on what we think of Scandinavia and the work that we're doing there. That's me done.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. That's fantastic. And Michael? Can't hear you, Mike.
Rookie error. Hey guys, I'm Mike. I'm just giving my insight from my last year's trip up in Scandinavia as a charter boat, where we had 8 charters and where we went to, what we did, and the different ways the guests liked it and what they preferred and what they didn't like.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. So we have just run our first poll just to have a bit of a feel if the majority of you have been to Scandinavia already, and the answer is no. We'll run another poll soon. And now I'll give the word to Melanie, who has the floor.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to try to share my screen. So yeah, just let me know if you can see anything.
Can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so today I will share some general information about Scandinavia with focus on Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, where I hope to leave you with some good insights of what the area has to offer. All these 3 countries have similarities, but also many differences. Combining an itinerary that includes all of them is first and foremost a very special experience, but also provides a variety of culture, nature, and activities. We usually get two main questions about Scandinavia, and those are, isn't that very far away? And isn't that very remote and expensive? So let's start with answering the first question. Seeing Scandinavia on a map, it can look very far away. It's actually quite close if you come from either the British Islands or if you're coming from the Mediterranean through the Kiel Canal. And on the screen, you can see an example itinerary, including the 3 countries with some of the top destinations. So I was thinking we can start in Denmark and then we move over quickly to Sweden and then we end in Norway.
Perfect.
So if we start in Denmark, Denmark is well known for its architecture and the royal culture, the flat landscape, and for having a very happy population. And compared to the other countries, Denmark is quite lively with bigger cities, with high poles, stunning royal palaces. It's a lot of fine dinings, beaches, and green parks. And one of the most popular destinations in Denmark is Copenhagen. And this is a little bit of what it looks like. And here is also some pictures of the architecture in Denmark as well. And then on a short distance from Denmark, you reach Sweden, which is a few hours of cruising. Sweden could be seen as a combination of Denmark and Norway. It has these bigger cities, just like Denmark, but it also has these smaller fishing villages as Norway. And here the seafood is absolutely amazing. And a major part of the Swedish culture is fishing and diving. And on this slide, you can see some parts of the Swedish west coast and its archipelago. And now we are heading towards the country that has it all. And as I'm born and raised in Sweden, I'm very sorry to say that, but it is true. And we are quite jealous of it, to be honest. But Norway has this like untouched nature, the hiking culture, the cool houses built on cliffs, the fjords with the most incredible views, the midnight sun, the northern lights, whale safaris, Viking villages, beaches, underwater restaurants, and so on. And in Norway, you can actually also enjoy the Norwegian summer on the yachts by cruising in the fjords in the morning. And then you can go skiing at the glacier later in the afternoon. And this is also some more pictures of just so you can see what it looks like. And it's absolutely stunning. And Scandinavia is often misunderstood by being an area that does not have that much to offer compared to the more popular destinations like the Caribbean and the Mediterranean, but it really has a good mixture of everything. But however, the destination is also having its challenges in regards to a somewhat remote location, especially in the Norwegian fjords. And we do have some quite strict regulations. And for those of you who are interested in doing some charters in the area, no charter license is needed, which is quite easy and convenient. On the other hand, fiscal representation could be needed for domestic charters. And we cannot act as a fiscal entity ourselves, but we do cooperate with companies making this process easy. And the VAT percentage for charters and private yachts only visiting one country is 12% for Norway and 25% for Denmark and Sweden. In regards to embarking and disembarking regulations, guests and crew of visa-free nationalities can stay in the area for up to 90 days within a 180 days period. Restricted nationalities must hold a valid Schengen visa, and crew must also have a valid working contract to be able to work on board. We can unfortunately not issue any Schengen visas, But in Denmark, we can issue a transfer permit if the crew member holds a seaman's book that is valid in accordance to the ILO Convention 108 or 185. And additionally, there are no pilot restrictions in Denmark, but in Norway and Sweden, pilot is compulsory for yachts with a lower more than 70 meters. And I would love to share some more information, but I will sum it up here by answering the second question. It definitely has its challenges in comparison to the other yachting destinations in terms of being a quite remote destination. It is a bit expensive and we do have some strict regulations. However, we are here to assist you in every possible way. And coming here has not disappointed anyone with the spectacular surroundings. And Scandinavia is absolutely a great destination for the ones wanting something new, something unexplored, and with a good mix of everything. And yeah, now I will hand over the word to my dear colleague, Andrew Grant, who will inspire you to new heights. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you in Scandi.
Thank you, Melanie. Andrew, before you start your presentation, I'm just out of curiosity. I want to see what our guests are working on. Are they working more on a charter or private vessel? And in the meantime, I want to ask Melanie, what would you say is the most popular destination in your experience so far?
Do you mean country-wise or?
Yes, country-wise.
I would say Norway.
And why do you think is that? Is it because it's just better known, or there is a good reason for that?
I would say we usually divide Norway in 3 sections. So we do have like the beaches in the south, and then the hiking in the fjords in the middle, and then the more like exploring area in the north with the northern lights and the Arctic wildlife. So it has a little bit more to offer compared to the other 2 countries.
Okay, thank you very much, Melanie. And so I just want to remind everyone once again that this meeting is being recorded for future use and sharing. And I hope you can all see the poll that is live, asking if you're working on a charter or private yacht. And Andrew, if you're ready, I will pass over to you.
Yes, can you see my presentation there up on the screen?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. As we said before, I'm Andrew Grant Super of Berkley Rand, based here in London, in Mayfair. To give you a bit of the background, is we've worked very closely over the past 2.5 years with BWA Scandinavia, with Melanie and her colleagues, with regards to trying to find the best kind of design and engineering of what we call very special experiences, which is what we do typically day to day. The idea being is that we sit down and talk with owners, owner representatives, to the super yacht captains, important people that have a say in terms of what's happening during a particular journey, adventure experience on board the super yacht. And we do this all around the world. But in the case of Scandinavia, we diligently mapped all the areas around the various countries, the island inlets, the fjords, the Nordic Riviera. We were mapping as far as going to the Baltic Sea and to the Baltic countries. Appreciate over the years many Russian clients had an interest in going as far as St. Petersburg, but it's a very interesting trip all round. I myself am a Scandophile, having worked for 3 Swedish companies. I'm very familiar, particularly with Sweden, and also a little bit with Norway. And it really is quite special to us. It's like Lord of the Rings country for us. It's so different. And with that, you can see on the screen, it's just a taste of the kind of adventures that came about through brainstorming, not only between us in Berkley Rand, our designers and engineers, and the BWA guys who know every inch of the territory so well, every port, every marina, every island inlet, every fjord, the whole areas, and the challenges that happen alongside our work. And together with owner representatives and super yacht captains like yourselves, we've come up with some of the most incredible experiences. And to give you a flavour, just so you know how far wild and crazy that we are, and it all depends on age group, who's going on board the actual vessel themselves, 1, 2, 3 generations, younger, 20, 30 somethings we cater for, all the way through to you know, older groups such as the 60s, 70s even, and whether it's charter or private. In this case, we create our own gastronomic feast with very well-known, world-renowned restaurants throughout the world, who shall remain nameless in this conversation, but you can imagine certainly several of them are top 5 in the world, where they put on special feasts that have been created and planned together with us from our side, from a logistical perspective, their side from a gastronomic planning perspective in the areas, and particularly in Scandinavia, where it really is all the rage, I have to say, with places like Noma in Copenhagen taking the top spot again repeatedly, with absolutely outrageous and the best gastronomic excellence in the world, I would say, at the moment. But what we do is take it a step further. We create our own 3D printed, industrially 3D designed and printed restaurants, pop-up restaurants, working with famous architects in certain cases, actually building these, that they get flat packed. We send them out there to the fjords and to other areas within Scandinavia, and inside that we work closely with the gastronomic experts and restaurants that we work with to put on quite an incredible feast as part of the journey. And obviously we turn it very much into theatre, and the spectacular is how we are. It's not just an experience or something functional. It's something they can remember for the rest of their lives. So in the case of one client who took the flat pack and has taken it back to his house in Lake Como and set it up as a pizzeria in his own garden for his own guests later on after the event. Meanwhile, for the younger generations, we're working on an Arctic Man, our version of a Burning Man, of which we are all great fans of, very hedonistic people within Berkley Rand. An Arctic Man is no less hedonistic, and it's everything from scientifically, you know, state-of-the-art spa treatments, Wim Hof treatments, all the way through to ice castles, treks, and incredible dancing emporiums in the middle of the night that just seems so insane. But it's the most wonderful experience that we obviously come off the yachts with regard to that, go back onto the yachts afterwards, but it really is like a whole day and night that just never ends. Very magical, and we work very closely with all the representatives of the owner and the super yacht captains, with really trying to understand what their psyche is and what their passions are, and then incorporating that in an incredible experience that's the Arctic Burn, as we call it, experience. Separately, we use technology, of which we're quite renowned for, immersive technologies and AI, in quite a deep way to talk with the local oceanic mammals, marine mammalogy, in and around the different areas around Scandinavia, which is quite incredible, the range that one can get at certain times of the year. And we actually do a thing called whale talking, which essentially is we are communicating with sounds in submersibles, going under the water, talking with them, creating sounds, replicating sounds, talking back. It's one thing to describe it, it's another thing to do it. It's quite magical, especially when you get a response. And no, we don't know what we're saying and we don't know what they're saying, but we're matching them with tonality and using machine learning and AI to be able to, it's almost like Close Encounters of the Third Kind when they're talking to the aliens. They're trying to find a match in terms of the tonal response. And it's quite incredible when you're inside a submersible. You can also do it on board. We build immersive rooms on board that are standalone rooms. Another side of things such as history, like the Heroes of Telemark, which is something we've been working on for quite a while, which in fact is something that technically saved the world from destruction. It was the discovery of heavy water being used to create atomic energy, but namely for atomic bombs during the Second World War. And of course, there's a very famous escapade and a couple of films made of it, where the SAS and other commandos stormed this place and took it over and basically stopped Hitler from building the nuclear bomb. He didn't know he was doing it at that time, but he was well on the way with heavy water. And here we relive it with augmented reality, showing you what it looked like in the 1940s, how it all came together, how it all blew up, showing you the ships that were there that were blown up during the process. It really is reliving the moment, which is something we do quite a lot. People will know as we're quite familiar for doing things like, different battles at sea and replicating them in a most incredible way with augmented reality and haptic technologies for all the family. And it can obviously go on to other things like Viking adventures. I'm not going to take in the other slides at the moment, just in case there's any disruption, because we should be finishing off now, my particular section. But Viking adventures, reliving and taking you back to almost a point where you can't even recognize the modern age in everything that you see in what would be a Viking village, and recreating the feasts and the battles and how they lived between them, which is just incredible to this day. So visceral and emotional in the way that things come together. It just takes you away from it. And all the way through to, you know, heli skiing is a natural thing that we do, but we try and add to it, such as adding augmented reality. So we can show you literally through the mountainsides what you're seeing beyond that. So your actual vision is something beyond, including seeing the northern lights. We have a way of actually magnifying the way that you see the lights more clearly than you would in normal dark. I won't say nighttime because it depends what time you see them, but normally at night, the way that you see them. So we use technology there. So it's whatever suits the people on board to give them the magical experience to really feel and love and fall in love with everything about Scandinavia. And it's all been mapped to the different places. I'm always happy to talk with everybody about new ideas and fresh ideas, but I should give you an idea of the kind of things that we're working on for the area. Thank you.
That sounds fantastic, Andrew. Thank you very much. So before passing on to Mike, I will run one more poll. And remember, everyone, if you have any questions, please put them in the questions and answers tab or in the chat, as you prefer. And of course, if there will be any questions that come up to your mind later, you can always contact us, and then we will refer them to the interested person. So, Mike, it's your turn.
Hey guys, so yeah, like I said in the introduction, I am just recounting what happened last season because it's my first season in Scandi for the whole boat, for the bus, and we were mainly charter. So yeah, getting up there was all fun. We started off in Sweden just with the bus for 3 weeks. He loved it, but he wasn't too much of an anchor man, so we always went back. So we found a new place in the archipelagos every single day. Head back to Sweden at night, and he was pretty happy with that, and he loved Sweden, so that was cool. Nice 3 weeks. We then moved on to Denmark just to stop off for some fuel, and then the rest of the 4 months up there was all in Norway, where we split up our trips from Kristiansand to Stavanger, Stavanger to Bergen, and Bergen to Flam, depending on what route we were going on. And each to their own. Like South Kristiansand to Stavanger was lovely, and it was a bit warmer. There's a few more beaches to go to. Stavanger to Bergen. Bergen was very rainy, but if you can go up, you can go into the fjords a bit more and go to Lunghurst, I think it was called. Difficult one to remember the names. But issues we did have every time we wanted to find something being a charter boat was anchoring, because as we are charter, the bus always, or the charter guests always want to go somewhere there and then with a rapidity, and before you can anchor, you have to get permission from the Navy, or we did. And we went through, whoever we went through, I think it could have been BWA. And as fast as they are, they then have to get the acceptance from the Navy. So sometimes it was talking half an hour later and the guests already were frustrated. As much, if you've got an hour, it's great, but the guests were like, oh, let's go down this fjord, or let's go down here today, like last minute. And it's just, that was the difficult part for us. There was no direct contact between someone in the Navy to say, yes, okay, you can anchor here, right now. It was always a half an hour delay, and by then the guests wanted to shoot off. But once you did get that acceptance, you anchor there for the night, and it was beautiful. There's rarely any tides, there's no winds, you know, it's you're stuck for the night, and we were the only boat up there for most of the time. And we just moved in the night because, like Andrew said, it's daytime most of the time in the summer. So we'd be picking up anchor at 2 a.m. in the morning. The sun would still be up, so you've got no issue with view or anything. You can see everything you want. And then we'd move on to a lovely place called Flum, right at the top. Every fjord had its own little village, but they were small villages, small towns, and there was loads of guests who loved it. All they wanted to do was go hiking. They wanted just the photos. But for guests who are used to the Riviera, who are used to Italy, they were missing and quite pissed off that there wasn't a Nikki Beach around. So You know, there's a certain clientele that would absolutely love it, and then other clientele who are still looking for that Riviera vibe, but in Norway, and they won't find it there. Which, unfortunately, sometimes it just let the charter down for some of the guests because it wasn't their holiday they hoped for. But you get some, and you never saw them for the whole week because they were off the boat 9 times out of 10, just some random glacier or some rock viewpoint or whatever. So that was excellent. But then the charter will come to an end, and then our only other issue was the VAT in Norway or Scandinavia in general, because obviously you want to finish up the accounts, you want to pay it off, but no one could give us a proper VAT bill to then bill onto the clients until 3 or 4 weeks later. But you can't, you know, finish up, close up accounts, and then 3 or 4 weeks later say to the guests, oh, by the way, you owe us 22% of this in VAT, because that was just the sole issue we kept on having. We worked it out. It all ended up okay, but it was just a lot of stress throughout the whole 3 months on the VAT side. But apart from that, we loved it. Everything was great. Definitely go again.
Thank you, Mike. That was excellent. And so I'm closing this poll, and I will activate in our final one. And we have now time for questions. So if you haven't submitted your questions yet, please go ahead either in the chat or in the questions and answers. And we will start with a few that we've received before the webinar. So I think this, sorry. I think this is for Melanie. Melanie, why should the boat use an agent based in Scandinavia rather than their usual one?
Sorry, can you please say that one again?
Sure. Why should the boat use an agent based in Scandinavia rather than their usual one?
I would say because the regulation and the clearance is a bit tricky up here. So yeah, it's better if it's a Scandinavian-based agency that's used to the regulations and the processes in general.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. And then I think this is for Andrew. Andrew, which super yacht experiences appeal to which type of owners? Age, culture, country, interests?
Sorry, I'll unmute myself. Damn good question. And there is a pattern. Well, no surprise that the 20, 30 somethings and lower 40s are a mix of, they're like hedonistic a lot. It's probably closer to your Club Nicky kind of attitude that Michael was talking about. You know, they want to party, they want to enjoy themselves. When they get into the 40s and 50s, it's more discovery and experiencing new things that they've done everything else. You know, one thing I always say to you guys, it depends on who the charter's on. I've noticed that there's a lot more interest from charters than private when we ask the poll. I just noticed, but let's just balance it here and say it depends on what they're looking for. West Coast American tech guys love the hedonistic, you know, they love the Arctic burn. That's very much them. The history side of things, no surprise, you know, the 40, 50-year-olds are interested in that, and certainly the gastronomic side of things, because it's very theatre and spectacular. The Americans love it because they see it as like Disneyland. It's like dreamland to them, you know, from the west coast of America and east coast. For us Europeans, we're interested in the fjords very much. We've got to think about that because it's quite unique. It looks so different. And as Michael said, is, you know, you can't go there with the same hat on as the way that you do the Caribbean and the Med. It's so different, and you've got to embrace it and love it for what it is. And it's a place to fall in love with because it just doesn't feel real. Even when we're doing our work there and activations, you think you just landed on another planet. It's quite incredible. Not that far to get to. So the Russians loved it. You know, going through, but obviously they've got some challenges at the moment. So the normal charter guess it, age group does it, culture wise, I think I've described there, age wise, pretty much kind of sorted out, but then everyone blends into each of the areas. such as, like, you know, when we do the ice hotel versions, our versions of that, where we're building like ice villages, which is one of the other experiences, or the Viking villages. That's any groups, and we've got people that love Vikings on TV, which is quite, you know, incredible, and they want to relive that, but really in its rawness, you know, and go back. Whereas the Nordic Riviera, we're trying to encourage them to really see this as really it's a new cool place to hang around, and really all the wealthy jet set of Scandinavia want to hang out there, and it's got a different vibe. It's very, very cool. So obviously we're trying to do experiences around that too. So you get them culturally there. If they want to dip into the culture a bit more than just see the geology and geography of it, you can have some real fun, do some incredible things.
Thank you, Andrew. And have another question. Probably this is again for Melanie. What are the best tips for preparing a trip to Scandinavia?
I would say go through all the activities that the guest or the owner would like to do, and also have all the paperwork like Schengen visas and stuff like that in order before arriving to the destination, and make sure to as well be aware of the regulations in general, just like Mike mentioned, that in Norway, for example, you need to have permission from the Navy to be able to move the yacht and etc.
Melanie, follow-up question. How long do you think it takes to prepare properly for such a trip? When would the boat need to start inquiring and organizing itself?
It depends on if it's a private or a charter yacht, I would say. Before charter yachts, I would try to start as early as possible, just to have like all the fiscal representation and everything in order. But maybe a month in advance for a private as well, just to be on the safe side, just to have like the berth and everything in order, because it can be quite crowded.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Mike, do you have any advice you would give to other crew who are preparing for a trip to Scandinavia? So any tips from your experience, things that, you know, the crew should be prepared of?
No, crew-wise it was fine, completely fine. Like, you're doing all the fjords, so it's flat seas the whole way. There is no, I never had throughout the whole 6 months up there any bad weather, apart from to and from the open sea, don't be wrong. But the moment you get to Norway, you're going all through the fjords, everything is flat, calm. Just have your camera out. I've never seen so many waterfalls.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Andrew, could you have several experiences, and how would that work?
Absolutely, and in fact, for Scandinavia, that's pretty much the way it goes. Mainly because what we found is they're going for quite a length of time, and it's isolated away from the med. So if you're going to do it, you're going to do it, you know, properly and do it for a good period of time, i.e., more than a week, if you can. And if you do, then yeah, you're going to have several experiences. And what we probably balance it out is we say, look, have one marquee experience that's the killer, the one that's going to be the pinnacle of your whole trip, and then do other smaller ones to keep the energy going. And also because it's quite varied, as I said, is you've got the Nordic Riviera, you've got the fjords, all the different places and, you know, towns that you have there that are quite incredible. So we're trying to balance it, and of course it's to do with budget and how much they're going to spend, and we've got to have those conversations with the owner representatives, because we don't want the yacht that, you know, the charter managers, charter brokers feeling that this is money being taken out of their budget when they're working very hard to secure the charter in the first place. So it's something that is incremental money on top, but time wise we can put on as many adventures as we want. If you want to know the kind of cost, it could be probably somewhere between about 200,000 to about 350 maximum for these kind of experiences, and they might do 2 or 3 experiences, something like that. So spending about 500,000.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. We have a question from the chat. This is a very good one. How to compensate for the potential cold weather and challenging water conditions for the experienced Med Caribbean charter guests, even in July with no real swimming or use of toys, etc. Whoever thinks they got the good answer.
Well, I can start if you want.
Go ahead, Mike.
Because what we did before we left is we got all the crew anyway, all proper uniform. So we bought ourselves some nice coats with our boat name on it and logo and whatnot. And then we also ordered 50 guest ones, the exact same, the boat logo, boat name, so they felt part of the crew, and underneath the Scandinavian experience. And that was on their beds each time a new guest came on board. So they wore it, they came off the boat all looking uniform, they came on, they loved it was part of the gift type of thing, part of the holiday, and you could spot them from a mile off, which was great. But they were really warm, really nice. In terms of toys, we did use the toys. The jet skis were most of the time out because you're allowed to use them, and you're allowed to shoot off. Like I said, the fjords are super flat, so you have no waves, so the guests loved it. We had the keys for the Yamahas, so we turned them down to like the training level because otherwise you could hit 90 kilometers an hour on them, which was a bit on the dangerous side. So toys were always out. Guests always had their coats, and obviously we bought a load of wetsuits just in case people did want to go diving or whatnot.
Thank you, Mike. Would Andrew or Melanie would like to add anything?
Yeah, I'll add something there. Got to say, with our guests, the expectation is different, and they're prepared for it. So I divide that into two ways. One of them is, for example, we embrace the cold. Cold regenerates the body, cures your immune system. Wim Hof and people like that. This is now the cutting edge, cryogenic freezing, all this kind of area, sports training. So the younger people are very familiar with that, and they are already in tune with that in terms of what they're going to do. So we embrace that when we do some of the bigger treks that we do, the Arctic treks. And some of the adventures that we do, and even the nightclub that we have running at night as part of Arctic Burn, it's to embrace the cold. The other side of things, like Michael says, is that the irony is we've had people that can go to those areas that are not even touching the water. They've got the beautiful view and the serenity, but it's not necessarily what everybody wants to do. And I've got to say, we bypass it through the, when we're doing the gastronomic events and things, it's got nothing to do with being in the water. So, and we're very mindful of that with the kind of clients that we have, where they're saying we want to see the place, but we don't want to necessarily embrace it so much that we're in the water because of the temperature. It's just not what we are particularly, keen on. So we have those kind of clients. We have clients who never leave the yacht, in other areas of the world, even where it's warm water. So be prepared for anything like that. I think what you've got to say is you're going because the view, the landscape, and when you drop into it is so exceptional that everyone I know who's done that, who are avid Med and Caribbean, serial visitors, never forget that trip. They never forget it. That's how special it is. That's how worthwhile it is. And that's me, and I'm not Scandinavian.
Thank you, Andrew. Melanie, do you have anything to add?
And I think the answers was very good. And yeah, then we also advise a lot of indoor activities as well, which can of course be a bit tricky in the fjords, but we do offer that as well.
Perfect, thank you. And would you say that there is a recommended period to travel and to be in Scandinavia? Is it the whole summer as you would be in the Med, or is there a difference?
I would say June to August. And July and August are the peak months.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Melanie. Mike, do you feel that the guests were having the best experience possible when you've been there, or was there anything that could have been done differently?
Again, it completely depended on who came on board. We had guests who are used to the Caribbean and the Mediterranean and just wanted to get off, have a lunch off the boat. But there are places around, but it's not the same and not as easy and sought after over there than it was. But then we had others who would go off and just never come back because they just find themselves different things. Because it just depends on the person who you get. Like you've got to explain. I'll tell you what. Yes, you have to make sure the guests know what they're coming to and what they're expecting. Because some just think, oh yeah, it's gonna be nice and it's all about the waterfalls and the sea. But some get fed up after a day, and they're like, oh, I didn't think it was going to be this much. Bergen, for example, Bergen rains a lot. It's one of like the wettest cities apparently. Which every time we went there, it was raining, and guests just turned up, had a dinner booked, and then wanted to go straight after the dinner a bit further north just to get out of the rain.
Yes, I've been to Bergen myself with the yacht, and it was raining for 2 weeks in a row in July.
Yeah.
But still, it was beautiful. It was amazing. It's like one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to.
Oh, it is, and people loved it. They loved the whole atmosphere and how green it was because of the rain. The rain brings its own beauty, but there's a lot who just wanted the sun and wanted to go swimming and wanted to sit on the terrace. Just couldn't.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Andrew, on average, who do you think are the people who are most interested into a trip to Scandinavia, according to what you've seen so far or your experience?
Before the Russian debacle, I would have said the Russians and Ukrainians, oligarchs. After that, I would have said West Coast tech billionaires. Definitely love it. They've got a thing about it. It's their Lord of the Rings moment. So they're very into it. And then the rest are, frankly, they're anomalies where the the heads of the families, if it's charter, not obviously then an owner, but they have a passion for doing something very different, because it tends to be people that are serial Med and Caribbean users who just want to try something different. They need a refresher and they want to try something different, but they do need to be, it's exactly as Michael said, they need to be educated about it, they need to be shown the best of it, that it's worthwhile, because a lot of what they hear is on hearsay from their fellow ultra high net worths and yacht owners and what have you, and yacht charters. So the rest are anomalies, but definitely it's ironic is we get more interest from US clients than we do from what I'd say Med clients, countries around the Med. I don't know if that's different to what you guys feel, but that's been our experience.
Thank you, Andrew. And would you say, sorry, I lost the question here. The people who have been to doing your experiences, were they more into like more traditional experiences, or some of the ones you've explained to us in your presentation, like the more high-tech ones, or the more, unusual ones, something that you wouldn't be able to do anywhere else?
I tell you what happens. It's all a fashion, and for example, it's all about gastronomy at the moment and about the hedonistic side of things. That's just what's leading at the moment. If you'd asked me, I don't know, 3 years ago, it probably would have been different, and it'll be different in another couple of years' time. But right now, everyone's talking about Nordic cuisine, and it's winning all the awards, and everybody's setting up in every major city and country, and two out of the top 10 best restaurants in the world are from there. So that's all the rage, and all ages like it. The rest in what we do there with pop-up restaurants that we build, create and design and partner with incredible restaurants. That's just the theatre and the, what you do about it, as opposed to just setting a table and offering them and going to a normal restaurant. The fact that they might be on an edge of a cliff, where the fjords are, overlooking all the fjords is breathtaking. They're never going to see anything like it in their life, unless they take drugs. And so that side of things, that appeals to everybody. The hedonistic side, because everybody's into, Burning Man, everybody's into Tomorrowland, everyone wants to have the coolest nightclub. Mykonos is crazy with all your clients. Ibiza is crazy with all your clients. So to have something like this, it's very hedonistic and out there. So it's very appealing, but of course that's to the 20-something, 30-somethings, next generation, all the tech guys. And the rest of it is, they're asking the question, how do we best soak up and do something that's an actual experience that really encapsulates the place that we are, such as an Audit Riviera, sorry. And they're looking for us to say, what can you add to it? What can you create that's something that's quite special? And they're not looking for a marquee with a tent and a whatever and a nice cute table and a few people serving, because you know, we do bigger stuff than that. That's you can go and hire an events manager for that. We play with the big boys. So that's what I'd say.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. And one last question for Melanie. Would you say that the yachting business, is it is it getting bigger and bigger in the area every season? What is the average now? What kind of yachts visit the area now?
I would say, I mean, we've had some tough years with both COVID and now the war, but I feel like we are slowly getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, I don't know exactly the number of yachts for the season, but we have more bookings for this season than we had last season, for example. So I would say, yeah, it's growing, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you, Melanie. If we have no other questions, I think we can finish now. If you want to ask anything else, you can contact us directly at info@pya.org or follow up with our panelists, or we can do that for you. We hope you have enjoyed it and that the information that you received was beneficial. And remember to visit our website, our new website. We have a special code, a discount code running until the end of the month for your membership. So thank you very much, Melanie, Andrew, and Mike, for being here with us. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.